Hello to everybody in the vinyl community. This is Rich at Embarrassment of Riches, here to talk about some of my June pickups. And these are just pre-orders and things that I have found online. I haven't gone to any record stores so far this month, but hopefully I'll be able to go to the Keystone Record Collectors Convention, which is a little over an hour away from here, maybe in July. I don't know. It's the weekend right before Mike MGK Boston / Buffalo's summer party for the vinyl community. So I don't know if I want to go and blow all that money at a convention right before I'm going to go to Buffalo to probably blow a lot of money at Buffalo's record stores. The New York Dolls self-titled 1973 debut given the MoFi treatment in 2025. The 2LP 45 RPM format is my favorite format from them, and not many punk rock or glam records are ever given the prestige treatment that this one received, even as monumental as some of them are, and I hope this is a harbinger for things to come with punk rock and glam albums. It's hard to beat, you know, same gatefold as you've seen before, but there's a picture of the boys, and yeah, this one really blows out of the water. The 1980s Dutch repress that I have and the 1973 original. This one obviously spread across two LPs at 45 RPM is going to have a wider soundstage. And even though there is no real virtuoso musicianship on this one, punk rock attitude and glam attitude more than makes up for it. And generally something, especially from this era, like this is pre-punk, and not a lot of respect was given to this music at the time. So for them to end up with Todd Rundgren as the producer on this really speaks to, I think, his belief in this band. That's a big name to attach to something that not a lot of people thought would go very far. But here we are, 52 years later. This album's only a couple of years older than I am, and it still sounds vibrant, and it jumps right off the turntable. All the sound really fills the room. And man, I am glad to have this one. I jumped on it and bought it immediately after I got the email from Acoustic Sounds because I'm a bit of a junkie that way. And I thought this would go super quick, like real quick. And it's number 000344 out of question mark. I don't know how many were made. But when I went on the website this morning to look, there were still some available. So if you had gotten the email and thought this would sell out too quick and didn't bother to go and get it, there's still a chance. I'd recommend it. Up next is a record that I have been looking for a little bit, a couple of years. Always looking for things at the exact right price that I want to pay. If they're too expensive, then I'm just going to have to let them fly. Let somebody else add it to their collection, and that's happened with this one more than a few times. It's not an expensive record. It's an incredibly great sounding record, but yeah, I've kind of had to let it go a few times until recently. Saw it at the exact right price that I wanted on eBay. Copperhead Road from Steve Earle. Such a great record. And I'm thinking, like many people, my first exposure to Steve Earle and his music was on the classic film Heart-Worn Highways, which if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere. I found it a few years ago. It fell off the back of a truck. But it's that movie's more given to highlights of Townes Van Zandt and Guy Clark, which, of course, not. Like, they're incredible and legendary musicians. That film is filled with legendary musicians and one or two that I really can't stand. But young Steve Earle, I think he was the youngest one in that movie, showed great performance skills and was in fine voice. Had a rough lead up, to what he's doing, and throughout his career he had a couple of setbacks. But this was the first Steve Earle that I had heard since then, a few years ago. And then after Heart-Worn Highways, not too long after, because I didn't see all these things in their own time. I was probably in preschool when Heart-Worn Highways came out. Next time I saw Steve Earle was on The Wire as Waylon, which, awesome. Great actor. Really fuck, I didn't put two and two together immediately until I read that it was actually that guy. And he did a great job on every season of The Wire that he was on. And I find out later, because I don't pay attention to some things as close as I should, that his song, Down in a Hole, the theme song for every season of The Wire, is his song. It's just different interpretations by different artists. And that's pretty badass. And so I gave this one a listen and learned to love it. And now I have it on vinyl. And that's probably going to lead me down some kind of rabbit hole eventually, because I also picked up Exit Zero from Steve Earle and the Dukes, his band. So yeah, I'm thinking this is probably going to lead to something. I need to clear more spaces in the S. S for Steve. Because that's how you sort records. This installment of Embarrassment of Riches seems to be about records that I've been looking for a very long time and finally found at the right price. Because this right here, Don't Go Back to Rockville, from REM, is my absolute #1 favorite REM song, all the way from back in 1984. Wasn't really a fan back then, but when I did start listening to REM, this is the one that stuck out most to me and really sticks in my head to this day. And although this is #1, there is probably a 25-way tie for my second favorite REM song. And this is the UK press original from 1984. I've seen the US promo, but it had, I think it was an edited version or something. There was some reason why I didn't want it as much. It seems to be much more rare to have the US promo, but if I'm not going to play it, then I don't fucking need it, obviously. And this one, the B-sides are live versions of 9 to 9 and Gardening at Night, one of which is Michael Stipe in his best mumbling live, I can't understand what the hell he's saying, form from the early to mid 80s that REM fans know very well. Gardening at Night is a great song, though. Yeah, and really, Rockville is not that far from where I live now. This is just how life works out sometimes. It's in Maryland, I think about an hour away from me. Not a lot to recommend it, but you get there's a long lore and story about this song because it's about a specific girl that I believe Mike Mills was dating, and then she had to go back home to Rockville for the summer or some shit. Regardless, it produced one of the greatest songs I think that they've ever made. Yeah. But Don't Go Back to Rockville. My first REM 12-inch single, and probably not the last now because that's how I do things. Up next is a record that I've had a low-grade copy of in my collection for a number of years just because of the sheer expense of getting a VG Plus or a Excellent on trying to find it anywhere. It is and can be an expensive record for especially for hip hop. And yeah, no, I'm super glad to have this one. This jacket is kind of beat to shit. America's Most Wanted, Ice Cube, 1990. Absolute classic. This is an original pressing, and it's also got the sticker over the track listing here because there was a couple of words that made a lot of parents clutch at some pearls. But this one, and I just recently shown that I've got finally a really good copy of Death Certificate. In my mind, all I really need now is a super clean copy of Predator. And besides a few 12-inch singles after that, I think my Ice Cube collection probably is complete because I don't really listen to a lot of the new stuff he's putting out. Maybe I need to give it a chance. But this is great. I love seeing this one on the shelf. I love playing this one. If you know anything about this record, you know the production is from the Bomb Squad along with Ice Cube's dude, Sir Jinx, who took everything he learned from the Bomb Squad on this recording and moved it forward to the dopest recordings that Ice Cube was to make in his career. Immediately following this with Death Certificate and Kill It Will and Predator. That sound was really honed and the production techniques were learned from the Bomb Squad in the studio in New York recording this gem. There's Ice Cube smiling for the camera. It ain't nothing but classics this week, everybody. This is some dope stuff. This next record is one that I have not heard one single song off of, and I bought solely on the strength of the name of the guy who is singing and writing the songs. And it is the band alumni Rick Danko on his self-titled 1977 solo debut. I have spoken before about my love for the band and the three incredible singers that they were blessed with: Levon Helm, Richard Manuel, and Rick Danko. Such great voices. I mean, what a great group of people to choose to sing certain songs that Robbie was writing. I'm aware, that they imploded, exploded, and they did continue without Robbie when he left, to diminishing returns. And it is Rick Danko singing on "It Makes No Difference," "Stage Fright," "Unfaithful Servant." They're some of the greatest classics that the band recorded. You can hear Rick Danko's voice on. And he was a great fiddle player, guitar player, bass player, obviously. Like, bass is dope on songs from the band. Yeah, I'm looking forward to putting this one on because, like I said, I don't know. I mean, unless there's covers on here that I'm familiar with. And there are band alumni playing instruments on this one as well, along with some friends. I love this mystery here. I'm going to play this and see what it sounds like. Right here is one from 1986 that I have had no reason to this point not to have. I really have no excuses, and I'm trying to rectify some gaping holes in the collection. And this one is The Whole Story from Kate Bush. And like many people, I'm aware of Wuthering Heights and Running Up That Hill. But largely beyond that, not a whole lot of familiarity. And I figured compilations are as good a place as any to start with artists that you're not entirely familiar with their discography. And if I find a couple of great songs that are on one particular album from now, I'll probably buy that album and start a Kate Bush collection if it's really, really good stuff. But, I mean, she's obviously an incredible singer and songwriter. There's the lady right there. Yeah. This is going to be a good one, I imagine. Oh, also, I know Hounds of Love. And she did the duet with Peter Gabriel on Don't Give Up that is on the So album. Really, really beautiful voice on that one. And yeah, I'm pretty stoked. I might listen to this one tonight. And here we have a rather beat to shit but placeholder copy of the best of Bob Marley and the Wailers. This is a repress from 1974 of one of the most grailiest of grails in roots reggae. The version of this, the original, had like a crocodile skin cover. Same songs, same recordings, but very rare. And like that one will go for near $1,000 if you ever find one in decent condition. You won't, but it's pretty interesting. I might add that to a Discogs Impossible episode coming up because of how difficult it is to get. And I love me some Bob Marley compilations. Generally, I would say, if you're new to it, go and buy Bob Marley and the Wailers Legend. And if you do that, try to get the Tough Gong version, not the US version. Different mixes. And really, Legend has the hits that you would recognize. Everything on here was produced and arranged and largely just corralled together by one of the legends with a capital L in reggae from the earliest times of reggae's. This is all put together by Coxsone Dodd, who was one of the original sound system DJs in the early 60s before reggae was anything. And he opened up Studio One in Jamaica, where the Wailers strolled on in to try to get an audition to make a record before anybody else had heard of them. A little later on, I believe Lee Perry, Scratch, stole them away for a bit and got other songs. These are very, very early Wailers tracks, but I think they do make a nice early companion piece to legend. It bridges the gap from the early to the end of the Wailers. To me, at least, the classic Wailer lineup before Bunny and Peter left continued making great music, but it was just a little bit different without the input of Peter Tosh and Bunny Wailer on that classic Studio One label. And lastly, here is one that I haven't even opened yet. It's so new to the house. It is the second record from the Dead Pioneers. One of my favorite records of 2023 was their debut. This is really, really good punk rock from a Native American perspective, which is even more interesting because that's a voice that we're not hearing too much in punk rock. And my interest in punk rock altogether has fallen off in the last few years just because of the quality of the things that I've been hearing have been kind of more of the same of everything that was in the 80s and 90s and past that. But this is one of the rewards of cruising through Bandcamp and listening to the samples of the songs that they let you hear, because when the debut was first out, I listened to the tracks for free there, and I bought a couple of copies of that record. Now I got some stickers, probably going to invest in a t-shirt, and I got this one. And who knows, if there's a variant, I'm a sucker. I'll probably get it if it's interesting enough or has something different to offer than the original. But if you're looking for new, interesting punk rock, I would say Dead Pioneers is worth your time. And really, like, that debut is badass. So I'd like to thank everybody who has made it this far for sticking around and seeing the records that I picked up in the last month or so. There's a couple more. I might make another video in a week or two for an early July, late June pickups kind of thing. Summertime records, who knows? Regardless, I appreciate you and love to the vinyl community. I will be seeing hopefully some of you in Buffalo in a couple of weeks at Mike MGK Boston Buffalo's Big Dig, and we'll have a lot of fun and buy some records. No, that's not weird. You see, I store this in my desk drawer where I also store incense. So this thing actually smells good. It's not covered in rich spit or anything like that. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you all next time. The MoFi 2025 remake. Fuck. This video is, I got fuck. New York Dolls, self-titled. Fuck. Incredible singers in one, blah, blah. Fuck me. On YouTube that nobody, fuck, I'm just blah, 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 blah.